everyone. I'm Angela Karkian, your Director of Education at PPA. And in this segment of In It Together, we're going to be talking with Kim Hartz from Houston, Texas. Kim, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We are excited to chat with you. You have such a remarkable business. And, you and I were talking earlier and decided that our topic today is going to be how to be really intentional in your business, because you have been a true master at that in deciding the type of business that you want to build. Can we talk a little bit about where your business was and how you made that transition? Because you when you started, you did everything, right? You were a generalist. You photographed everything.
Yeah, no, I was under the belief that you had to photograph everything if you wanted to be successful. And I was going into leasing a space right away and jumping straight in, because I'm the type of person that I plan and I prep and I try to get everything ready the right way. And I did a lot of research. And the month before I opened, I attended Imaging USA for the first time, just to build my confidence and make sure I was ready. But I really didn't know anything, and then you open this retail space and you're thinking, okay, well, I have to photograph everything because I need to bring in all these different clients and I need to have all these different revenue streams. And you find out pretty quickly that you don't really enjoy all those things. And when you don't enjoy it, you don't shoot it as well and you don't want to do it, which makes it really hard to want to work on your business. And I was photographing weddings, which I absolutely hate. I have so much respect for wedding photographers because it's just not for me. The hours and, the weekends and I worked 24/7 when I opened my business, but I didn't want to be shooting on a Saturday night, And so I did seniors. I thought, oh, well, I can connect with seniors because when I started my business, I was 26, I think. So I was like, I'm pretty close in age. I can connect. And no, it was not a matter of connecting. I just was I just don't want to deal with seniors. And then I thought I was actually going to do more boudoir than anything. Did a few of those. Nope. So I found out about 6 months into running my business that I really wasn't happy. And I was making some money, but it wasn't worth it to stay into something that I wasn't enjoying. And my husband and I we got married, not that far before I opened my business. And we got a golden retriever together, Abby, our first baby. And I was photographing her all the time. She would come to work with me. And I was just I love working with her. Animals are so amazing in that, well, they don't talk back and there's not a lot of retouching. And they're just fun. If you're an animal person at all, and so I thought, well, I'm going to start photographing her and then I'm going to start photographing some of my friends' dogs to just kind of test the waters. Mm-hmm. And I found out that I loved it. I didn't mind if I had to have a shoot on a Saturday or if, I had to work late, because I just loved working with animals so much. And so I thought, well, let me look around Houston and see who else is doing this. And this was in 2010. And there were 4 other photographers that were doing some form of pet photography, but nobody was doing just pet photography. And I knew, being in Houston, the weather, it gets really hot. It can rain a lot.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I knew I wanted to have a little more control. I wanted studio because I didn't want to have the issue of having to reschedule all the time. And I love the control of studio lights as well and being able to create exactly what I want and not being concerned about the natural light and things like that. So there was only one photographer that was doing studio, and he was doing high key, which is very much not my style. And so I thought, well, there's a real opportunity there. First of all, nobody's doing just pets. People are doing it a little bit, but not just pets. And nobody's doing the mid to low key studio, which is what I wanted to do. And so I remember that 6 months in, kind of being a little nervous because I was going to transition my entire business from being general portraiture to specializing in pet photography. And that's a huge change.
Yeah, that is.
I had to rebrand. I had to do all these things. And I remember talking to people about it because I like to really prepare. And I had several people tell me, that's crazy. Nobody's ever going to pay to have their pets photographed. And I remember hearing that over and over and just thinking, I think they will. And I'm going to prove you guys wrong. And so I just decided that that's what I was going to do because I was unhappy. And I knew I enjoyed that. And I saw that there was an opportunity to really take that niche in the market. And not just pet photography, but being somebody who photographs only pets, like your people don't have to be in it, because nobody was really doing that. And then studio, mid to low key. Like I was very specific because I knew that there was a gap in the market. And also that's how I like to shoot. And so I rebranded, I changed everything, and then I hit the ground running hard. Like I had a booth at the dog show, this huge dog show that was in town. I would cold call dog businesses. I would go physically in a business and talk to people and try to get my name out there, so that eventually people were like, I've seen her name, you know, pets. And so it started getting a little traction. But I really did my, you know, the back end of trying to get my name out there. For probably that first year after transitioning, I really worked hard to do that. And then I was able to get some traction, and I got some press, and just, I was working nonstop. But in the end, I was able to really capture that segment of the market that nobody was doing. And I've been doing it, you know, it's been 10 years now, and I'm still doing it. You go ahead.
Yeah, no, but you went in full court press. Like,
oh, yeah.
I mean, all in that one niche. It would have been much harder to be being a generalist and trying to put attention into all of those things. I mean, you couldn't have.
I think it's almost impossible to put that much effort into each product line you have. There's just not enough time. And then also, you know, I was thinking to myself, you know, if I'm going to be a boutique photography business and people are going to come to me, it should probably be something that I am the best at, the expert at, you know? And so the more I thought about it, the more I was like, this is the perfect thing to do. And I read a lot of books too at the time. I read like Riches and Niches, which is one of my, I think it's by Susan Friedman. Love that book. And that helped me too, because I was trying to get confidence in making this leap. I had business loans to pay off. You know, it wasn't like I just opened and hope for the best. No, I had to pay stuff off. Like I actually had to make this work. And I really found that specializing in something was very helpful. It was helpful in getting clients, and it was helpful in being better at what I was doing, because I focused all my attention on how to work with animals, how to photograph animals, how to, work with the pet parents. It's a different relationship than a lot of people are used to, and understanding that relationship is key to getting clients that like and trust you. And it didn't hurt that I didn't have kids at the time. I had, my furry child, Abby. And so that really helped me as well, because I did understand that relationship, and I did understand what it's like to just have a pet and not have a child, because a lot of the people that would come to me don't have kids. And even now, I mean, I've learned that, over all that time, if they have kids, most likely they're not going to just have their pet photographed. And that's okay. It's just how it is. I've had one time over all the years, did a family, it was a family of 4, come to me just to have their pet photographed, and they had little kids. So it doesn't, happen that often. But the more I put myself out as the expert, and the more I trained myself, and I tried to attend workshops and do whatever I could to build my skills, people wanted to come to me because they knew I knew how to work with their pets. So I wasn't just going to, try to get them in place and be rough and not have patience and things like that. Like, having patience is so important, and you have to actually like animals to have that patience. But it really helped me, because people would come to me and then they did realize that I did know what I was doing. And then, I started getting a ton of referrals, and it just kind of exploded from there. And I didn't become complacent with the marketing and with getting my name out there. I wasn't doing it maybe as much, but I continued to maintain all those relationships I had made. And to this day, I still do. So it just really, I've worked very hard to really carve out that niche, but you have to work to keep it too.
Yeah, without a doubt. Let me ask you, as you were first getting into that and you were portfolio building, what did that look like? Were you doing this for family, friends? Like, how did you build that portfolio?
So when I decided to make the transition, I didn't have a ton of pet work. So I was reaching out to family and friends to, can you see me? It says something signed me out. That's weird.
No,
I didn't
you're good.
the meeting. Well, the Zoom just popped up and it was like,
go.
Being signed out. But so I did start with photographing like families and friends that I knew, just to get more work in there. So like my sister had a Pomeranian who I photographed a bunch. My whole family has pets. And so I actually really started to build my portfolio with Abby, and then with my parents' two Cavaliers, Ruby and Agador, because they had just gotten them. And so I photographed them whenever I could. I would do natural light, I would do studio light, I would do off-camera flash, just kind of testing the waters, and would slowly start to add them onto the website and things like that. And it's funny because I had a lot of Abby, who's a golden retriever, and a lot of Ruby and Agador, who were Cavaliers. So I got a ton of Cavaliers and Goldens in the beginning. And I don't know if that was just because that's what they saw on my website. But
Awesome.
So I did a lot of those kind of like model calls. And so for family and friends, they would just let me photograph them whenever. And, and if they wanted the images, my parents, I'd give them like an 8x10 or something. And I had that kind of similar thing for people in the beginning, but then I stopped doing it once I had enough, because people will take advantage of you and be like, oh, shoot. So I was very specific about what they would get. And then if they wanted something other than that, they would have to pay for it. But yeah, that's kind of how I started building, was through the model calls and friends and family.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people, as they're building a niche, or as they're considering even building a niche, one of their fears is that they're going to lose all their clients, that they've kind of worked all this time to get to this place, and now it's all for naught. Did you lose a lot of your clients, or did a lot of your clients have pets? How did that work?
When I transitioned, I feel like I know I lost some clients, but at the same time, clients that I had that maybe didn't come back to me for the pet photography knew people that had pets and referred me that way. And I've had people all along the way who will refer me to somebody, and they've never come to me, but they either know me personally or they know me through a friend, and they know I photograph pets, and I've gotten people that way. So it's kind of the belief too, though, like when you rebrand and you make that message that's specific for your target client, that you are going to lose people that are not that perfect client, but you're also going to get the right client that's going to value what you do more, that's going to want to pay for what you do. And it was kind of the same thing in that respect. Yes, I would lose people that maybe didn't have pets or didn't have that bond with their pets, but I was going to gain those people that did. And I did. And so there is always a trade-off if you're going to rebrand, if you're going to niche down, but you have to think about the possibility of what will happen and how you can tailor that to meet your business's needs, and so that you can better serve that perfect client that you want to reach. And so I didn't see it as a bad thing, like, for sure.
Yeah. So you went from actually having a brick and mortar studio to bringing it back into your home. And that was another really intentional decision that you made as you were designing really your perfect business.
Right. And I realized I wasn't making a lot of money. I was working all the time, and
expensive.
It was so frustrating. But I think it was like $18,000 a year was going back to rent and utilities, which is insane.
Yeah.
And, I had these business loans to pay off, and I was making money, but I wasn't making enough to really pay myself. And so I only had the retail studio for 2 years. I was in a 2-year contract, and I was ready to get out of that because I actually was always trying to work on my business, was always trying to make it better. And I was enrolled in the PPA SMS program. Mm-hmm. I don't think y'all have it anymore, right?
No.
It makes me so sad. It was such a wonderful program, and it helped me to really see where I was spending money in my business and where I could make changes. And I remember sending all my financials to y'all and just thinking y'all were going to get back to me and say, just close, you're done, And I was always very good about my financials and the business side of it. But I just felt like I was kind of didn't know what I was doing. And this retail space was just a drain on so much of the money that I had coming in. And I remember, the first meeting I had with Bridget, the accountant, and she was like, you're doing great. We just need to make some changes. And we did. And I was able to go from like 0.08 profitability to 32% profitability in the first year. And there was a lot of factors that went into that. Moving to a home studio, cut down on that overhead. And so that $18,000 went away. And I was able to keep that and put that into different aspects of my business. And then I also saw that I was spending way too much on marketing. I did a lot of paid advertising in the beginning, which I will never do again. You live and you learn. Yeah. And I didn't get a lot of return on those investments. And so I stopped doing a lot of that. but I was able to take a lot of that money that was not working for me that I was spending and transition it into either, keeping it for myself or putting it towards education and things like that, things that were actually going to help me.
Yeah.
So by moving, yeah, I know, right? Not just like throwing it to the wind, but by moving to a home studio, it really helped me to build a successful business where I pay myself, where I have that cushion for if something comes up and, like maternity leave and you can't work for, however long, but I can still pay myself, like things like that. Like I've been very intentional in how, when money comes in, where it goes. And I was able to do that, I think, in part because, well, I educated myself on how the business side works, obviously. And if money comes in, I don't just go, "Ooh, I'm going to buy a new lens." I got to think about what's going to happen with that money.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Keep it or spend it on something I need. Yeah. So moving to a home studio is probably the best decision I made for my business, because it's allowed me to have a lot of flexibility, because my studio is in kind of like a guest apartment behind my house. So it's not in the house, which is great because I have little kids now and I have my own pets. So it's its own dedicated space, and it's plenty of room. I sell up here, I shoot up here, I meet all my clients up here. And it's, like I said, super convenient. But then also, one of the biggest things that I was concerned about was that people were going to think I wasn't the real deal if my studio is at my home. And I know that stigma has changed a lot, I think, since 2012.
I think
at least in my mind, I thought people, wouldn't. And that's the reason I had a retail space, is I thought I had to be legitimate. And from moving there to here, like people, like I made sure that my studio looked very professional, like reflected my brand, reflected who, I was, what they were going to get, the level of service, the level of quality. None of that went down. If anything, it went up, because I was overcompensating, because I was worried people were going to think, oh, it's a home studio. And people would walk in and they'd look around and go, oh, this is really nice. And then that was it. Like nobody cared. As long as they got the same quality and service, which I've made sure of, they were happy.
Yeah. And artists throughout history have worked from their homes. So, sometimes I think we forget that. We forget that historical perspective. I did want to throw in here, because I want people to know that they can go to ppa.com, to the business resources. We're really big on teaching the numbers, and what Kim was alluding to earlier was talking and understanding your cost of sales percentages and your general expenses, understanding budgeting, and being able to appropriately monitor your money. We teach managerial accounting, so you can actually look at your business on a daily basis and know where you are and what you're doing. But all of that is available on the ppa.com website under business resources. So go check it out. It's definitely a fantastic thing to do, is get educated for your for your business on how to run a good business. And then we also, on the new EDU platform coming out in June, you can actually do the business challenge as a curriculum on the new website. So we're excited that that's coming out. So you'll be able to do a lot of the things that that you worked through with SMS. We're actually going to make all those resources more readily available and findable. So we're excited about that. Anyway, so thank you about that. I love when I talk to you. You're such a fantastic instructor, and we have so much more of you coming out on PPA EDU in the future. Kim's working on an entire pet segment curriculum for us, so we're excited about that. But I love talking to you about just again, how intentional you are with your business and the way you make decisions. They're not willy-nilly. You chose this niche. You actually did your research on it before even deciding that was going to be a path that you were going to take. Tell me, now that you have little ones, what's life like? How are you able to kind of take control of your time? That's a loaded question.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a different world, but it's kind of funny because you're talking about being intentional. I used to work in real estate. I quit my job right before I got married, and I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do? And one of the reasons I went back to photography was, well, I always wanted to own my own business, and I wanted something that I knew I could be flexible in. And so I knew before I opened my photography business, I was going to have kids someday. And I knew I could build it around how I wanted it to work in my life and for me. And so having kids now, I have a almost 6-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. And it's actually really not hard to run my business full time, but still be a mom. Like, I don't sacrifice the pickups, the school parties, or anything. I'm there. Like, I love that. I don't want to miss out on that. And so I've been very careful about how I put out how you can meet with me, and in the way that I'm by appointment only. It's also, the studio's at my home, so I'm not going to just give out my address and say, knock on my front door. So it's very like, I don't even send that information out till you book with me. And I have set studio hours that are on the website. When you contact me, if you email me, you get an email back that says the same thing. So I've made it very clear when I work and when you can expect to hear from me. So I've definitely set some boundaries in my business. I have a separate phone for my business. I have 2 cell phones because I don't want to give people my personal cell phone, because people will call you at all times of the night. And it is truth. It's weird, but they will. I had an intern give out my cell phone to a client, and she still texts me at like 11 o'clock at night. I don't understand why. And so, I just setting those boundaries in your business so that you can still have your life and it doesn't like cross over and overrun it is really important in my opinion. So I'm very specific in that, here's when I'm open, here's when you expect to hear from me, but I will get back to you like either that same day or the next day, but in those business hours. And that allows me to still handle all of the stuff that I want to in my personal life with my family without sacrificing the business side of it. And I also schedule all my own appointments. I don't have employees. It's just me. So I know that I'll look at my calendar. If there's something for my kids, I'm obviously not going to schedule it on that, on that day. And I try to schedule all my appointments while my kids are at school. Doesn't always work. And I have to have somebody, come help me out, but very rarely. And they're pretty soon, they're going to be in school a lot longer. I think they both go from 8 to 2:30, assuming school opens back up in the fall. But so that's a big chunk of time, 8 to 2:30 every day where I won't have kids. So it's getting easier and easier. But it's a nice being able to balance both. And it's nice having my studio separate because I get to come up here and I get to just work. And when I'm in the house, I'm disconnected from work, which is nice. So I can turn it off and turn it on.
It's a nice
and
delineation.
Be a mom, be a studio, owner and photographer.
Yeah.
But I've made that separation.
Yeah. The thing that I love too, just going back to that one, I love that you have a delineation between work and home work and home, because I think that's hard for a lot of people. But the other thing is you set great boundaries, but you're a great communicator. You're a great communicator and set expectations. And I think that's what makes it work, is that people know exactly what to expect from you. So do you have all of that kind of pre-designed or pre-written? Is that something that just automatically goes out? How does your communication with your client work?
Well, so if people contact me via email or they contact me with my contact form on the website, they get an automatic email that says all that stuff before I give them a call or respond back. But I have it on the website. But I also have done it for so long now that when I talk to people, it's just like part of the pitch, and that I'm very transparent about how I work. And I feel like if you're going to have a boutique photography studio where you're, higher end, lower volume of clients, you have to have that level of managing expectations, because one of the worst things that can happen is you don't fulfill an expectation your client has because you didn't know about it. And so I'm very, from the very beginning, I tell them exactly what to expect from me along the way. I tell them what I expect from them along the way. I give them my pricing before they come in, because I don't want to waste anybody's time, but I also don't want somebody to have a full shoot, love the images, see my pricing, and then be like, I can't afford it. Like, that's the worst feeling ever. I would never want to do that. So I'm very upfront about all of that. And then about the hours and everything like that, very upfront about that as well. And I've changed a lot of things in my business to make it work more for me over the years. Like, I used to photograph Saturdays, like every Saturday. And I remember Bridget telling me, she goes, why do you have to photograph on a weekend? She goes, do you see your dentist on a weekend? And I was like, no, but I just assume because I'm a photographer that I'm supposed to, right? And so I thought, well, then why am I? Because I hated it so much. And so then I transitioned to one Saturday a month, and it would book up so fast. And I hated it. I didn't care that I was busy from like 9 to 6. I hated that whole Saturday. So then I decided, okay, well, if you want me on a Saturday, double the session fee. and people still booked, and I still hated it. And so I just got rid of the weekend. I was just like, you know what? I have kids now. I don't want to miss whatever's happening on the weekends. And so I made my hours, they're Monday through Thursday at this point, 9 to 4, which sometimes, I mean, I say 9 to 4, but that doesn't mean I'm going to have clients all day because of, you know, my kids' schedules and stuff. But I know people, when I talk to other photographers, they're like, wait, you don't work on weekends? How does that even work? I was like, I just let people know that I'm not available on the weekends. And if they want to book me, here are the times. And if they get wishy-washy, I say, well, look, most people will either take a half day or a lunch to come and see me. And they're like, oh, okay. And it really hasn't been an issue.
Wow.
But, you know, you have to have your business needs to work for you, not the other way around.
I love that. Yeah. I think we all get stuck in that, you know, as business owners, we get stuck in the, you know, I think it's a little bit of fear, you know, are we going to be able to bring enough people in? Are we going to make people happy enough? You know, is it okay that we ask for what we need?
Right.
But I love that you are proof that you can actually design a business around your life, you know, versus designing your life around your business.
Oh yeah.
That's fantastic.
No, completely. And there are always exceptions as well. I've had one client that's come to me since I opened and she just couldn't make it work and she needed a Saturday. So of course I did that for her. But like very rarely, if you're a new client or I don't know you, I'm not available during the weekend. But like she's a 10-year client, you know, of course I'm going to make that for her. So
absolutely.
There's always exceptions, but the key is that you are in charge of making it.
I love that. Yes. Again, another example of being intentional. You mentioned a book earlier. And tell me again what it was, Susie.
Was it the business one or the non-business one?
Oh, it was the one on niching down. What was it? You mentioned it earlier and just now during this recording.
Riches and niches.
Yeah. Are there any other books that you would recommend?
Niches, I believe. Business-wise, I finished Atomic Habits recently, and I found it very interesting for both personal and business. But I've not been reading too many business books past that one lately.
Yeah. Any other iconic business books that have been in your library that you would say that's a good one? You definitely go and check it out.
Yeah. So I was one of the ones that I read when I was actually transitioning to being just a pet photographer, not just a pet photographer, but specializing in pets, was The Purple Cow by Seth Godin. Oh, yeah. Anything he writes, I think is fabulous. But The Purple Cow was one that I thought, you know, because I knew I was going to be niching and I wanted to do it correctly and to really, like you said, have intention in doing it. And I loved that book. I think that was a great one. I read, Riches and Niches, The Purple Cow, and there was a Worth Every Penny. I read that one I thought was good. And it's, you know, by Sarah Penny. So it's, you know, got a lot of photography references, which is nice. I'm trying to think of what other I've read recently. I don't know, anything Seth Godin, I'm a big fan.
I'm with you. I think he's amazing. You can actually sign up for his daily blog and you'll get an email every day with a great thought from him. He's fantastic. So coming out of quarantine, getting back to business as we wrap things up here, what are your thoughts, your advice as photographers are kind of trying to get back to work, and you know, specifically as a pet photographer, are there certain things that you're doing, changing to accommodate clients as we get back to work?
You know, it's tricky. I was talking to other pet photographers about this. Getting back to business, depending on how the world is going to be when you're shooting, we were talking about wearing masks and things like that. And it's really hard as a pet photographer to wear a mask because you have all your noisemakers and you can't shoot with a mask and do your noises. And so that was something that I hadn't thought about, and another pet photographer brought it up. And so I think at this point, what I'm going to be doing is thinking about, you know, probably we're in May right now, probably the fall, and gearing up for how I would get back to business then, like how I would start. And it's actually a good time to start thinking about it now, because I feel like a lot of people, when they put together a marketing plan, they put it together too late, last minute. And it's really important to start thinking about it now. So like, how am I going to reach back out to those people? How am I going to put that in there that we're still here, things like that. But one thing, I want to mention, getting back to business, I think a lot of people maybe aren't thinking about getting new clients at this point, but I think it's really important to reach out to your current clients and let them know that you're thinking about them. Let them know that you care about them. I mean, connecting with the people that have already been with you, I think is huge. And that could be anything from a short personal email, maybe writing them a handwritten note, just saying, hey, hope you and, Fluffy are doing well during this time. We're thinking about you. I mean, something really small, but that's going to help you maintain those clients moving forward. And there's some other really cool things. Some other photographers were telling me about it. There's can't think of what it's called. I'll have to give it to you later, but it's postcards. You can make like 100 postcards, but each image will be different. So you could do that for so many clients and put their pet on it and write them a little note. And I think something like that is more of what I would focus on right now. Because, if we don't take care of our current clients and let them know that we're here and we're thinking about them, it is going to be more difficult if all of a sudden we're like, hey, here we are, think about what you can do for your clients now. And then when you do make that push to start taking sessions again, it's not just completely out of the blue. It's like, we've been thinking about you, and here we're getting ready to start doing this again, and we'd love to have you come in. So,
yeah, that's great advice. That's fantastic. Kim, thank you so much. Your story is incredibly inspiring and very encouraging. Just again, thank you. We appreciate you more than you imagine. And again, we're all in it together, right? One day at a time, one step at a time. We're here to help. We're here to encourage. And thanks for joining us. Thanks again, Kim.